Okay, this is going to be my attempt at showing people how to make strudels. So bear with me, because there's not a recipe. It's all just about dumping it in and knowing what you're doing. So I'll do my best. I put in about 3 cups of flour. I'm making a smaller batch, so obviously it depends on how much you're making. And you want to use just hot water out of your sink, as hot as you can get it. And then you just add it until you get the right consistency, and I will show you that consistency once I get it there. Okay, so as I said, I used about 3 cups of flour, and then about 1.5 cups of hot water from the tap. And then you just kind of mix it around. It's kind of a sticky dough, and you just want to work it a little bit. You can add a little flour if it's too sticky, or add a little more water if it's not, but generally speaking, this is about the consistency you want it. Again, kind of sticky. Until it all comes together like so. So if you live in North Dakota and can get your hands on Dakota-made flour, that's the best flour to use because it's winter wheat, so it's a lot more glutinous. I actually brought this back to Maryland from North Dakota for this purpose because the flour that I found here, I had a hard time getting it to stretch enough when you stretch it out and roll it. It might just take some trial and error to find the right flour. If you can't find any super glutinous flour, I think that the best thing that you can do is probably make smaller quantities to stretch, and also leave it rest for a little bit longer. So what I'm going to do now, as you can see, it's not sticking to the bowl, but it's, a fairly sticky dough. You want to put it on a sheet pan, divide it up into little pieces depending on the surface space that you have to be able to stretch it out. You want to divide it up into smaller pieces and then stick it on a cookie sheet with lots and lots of oil, like an obscene amount of oil. You're also going to oil the top. I know it looks gross, but that keeps it from drying out, because now we have to let it sit and rest for like 45 minutes or so. And again, if you're using a different dough that's not as glutinous, you might have to let it sit for a little longer, maybe an hour, hour and a half, depending on, you might have to experiment. I also forgot to mention that you should cover it with a clean dish towel as well. Again, it just helps keep it from drying out and kind of keeps the heat in, I guess, so that the gluten can develop. And while that is happening, I'm going to make the cucumber salad, which normally I use regular sized cucumbers, but they didn't look so great at the store, so I got these little cucumbers, which work just as good. And you want to cut them up, and then you add apple cider vinegar and heavy whipping cream, some salt and some pepper, and then sometimes it can get a little thick using the heavy whipping cream, so sometimes we add some milk if you want to thin it out a little bit. And it's all kind of, again, not really a recipe. I'll try to keep track of how the measurements of what I use, but it kind of just depends on your taste. This is, when it's done, you can see it's pretty thick. Once it sits in the fridge, if I want to, I might add a little bit of milk just to thin it out a little bit. I used about 3 cups of heavy cream and about a half a cup of vinegar, of apple cider vinegar, and then just some salt and pepper to taste, depending on how you like it. You can add more vinegar if you want it more vinegary. You can add more cream if you want it creamier. So whatever, it's up to you. And then salt and pepper. And then also, some people do like to add onions. I don't like raw onions particularly, so I leave those out, but you can add onions as well if you wish. Also, while I am waiting, I do the potatoes and the ham, and you just cut them into small cubes, cut the ham into small cubes, and put them in a something with a cover. And you want to fill the water up just so that it's kind of equal to the potatoes and ham. You don't want too much water in there because the strudla is going to lay on the top of it, and you don't want that submerged in water. Generally for the ham, I just buy ham steak and use that. Again, I think sometimes people put onion in here. I do not, because it's delicious without it. And also, I don't know if this is necessary, but it's what I was taught. So you always want to put a little bit more oil. I know it's disgusting, there's a lot of oil, but that's the way our ancestors did it. So that's what I'm going to do too. And then I'm still just waiting for the dough to rest, and then we will stretch it out. Okay, so again, really kind of disturbing, but you want to put a lot of oil down on the table. This helps obviously it from sticking, and also when you roll it up, I think helps kind of keep that so that when they're cooked you can peel them apart. And then you just start stretching the dough out as thin as possible. Just keep stretching around and around. Add more oil to your table if you need to. And again, you're going to want to make these little circles depending on the size of a table or countertop that you have. You'll want to make those smaller or larger depending on your workspace. So you can see it's all stretched out real nice. You can put your hand under it and stretch it. It's almost see-through. If you get some holes, not a big deal. And then what you want to do is try to get it as square as possible. That always makes it the easiest. And then you just start on an end and you roll. It doesn't have to be pretty. And you just keep going back and forth until it's all rolled up. Okay, once you have it all rolled up, you got your little rope here, then you just cut it into pieces. It's a little thinner than maybe normal just because I didn't make as big of a batch as generally we make in this family, but that's fine, it'll taste just as good. And then I stick the pieces back over onto the greased cookie sheet, and then I will do the next one, and you keep going until you're all done. And then I generally let them rest for like maybe another 20 minutes before we start cooking them. Okay, and so you want to get your potatoes boiling and then turn down the heat to like a simmer, and then get your strudels, and you want to lay them out on top Um, and also just when they're on the cookie sheet, try not to let them touch, because even with all that oil, they can stick. So you just want to go around and lie them on top. You can overlap them a little bit, but it's best to avoid that if possible. So if you're making a large batch, you might want to use multiple pans or kettles of potatoes and ham, because you don't want them too layered. And then once they're all in there, you put the lid on. Hopefully these won't stick too bad together. And basically what you're doing is steaming them. Like I said, probably the potatoes are cut fairly small, so generally it goes pretty quick, like 20 to 30 minutes, and it's probably done. Make sure you put the cover on and let them cook. Once about 15 minutes is up, you'll want to take them out. Sometimes they're a little stuck together. Just use a fork to sort of gently pry them apart. Heat some oil in a pan, and then you want to put them in and fry them till they're crispy on both sides. Only fry as many as you're going to eat. The rest, put in a container with a lid. After they cool, stick it in the fridge, and fry them the next morning or the day that you're going to use them. One of our favorite things to do the next morning is cut them in slices, scramble up some eggs, brown the slices really good, make them nice and crispy, and then dump the egg on top of them, scramble it all up, dip it in ketchup. It's delicious. Don't know which way we like it better, but that's a good option. So, yep, once they're fried, that's it. You're done. You can eat. Okay, once you fry them, it's all done, and you can eat them however you want. We like to do this because it's delicious, and it's already unhealthy, so why not make it a little worse for you?